Interest rates are going up. Trying to get ahead is mighty, mighty tough. Bill collectors at my door. I need someone to help me raise my credit score.
Welcome to another edition of the Pearl Polto Show. We have another great show tonight, but before we get into the show tonight, let me tell you what's coming up as usual. To give you some updates, next week, Bristol Stomp Bonnie will be here. Bristol Stomp Bonnie. She's the fan president of the Dovells. And she was on Bandstand. So we're going to have a nice rock and roll show next week. You really don't want to miss it. There's a lot of good shows we have on, and please mark it down because you really don't want to miss it. The following week after that, if you know anything about computers or do not know about computers, you don't want to miss that show. There's going to be a lot of shockers that you're going to hear about your own computer. The 24th, wow, that's the biggest thing. I did a lot of homework on this case, and that's the big show on cancer. There is a cure, so you don't want to miss that show. The following week, back by popular demand, Mike the Fireman. He's coming back to finish what he had to say about our city, and he is ready with full fire. And then November 7th, we have a live between Valerie Marson is coming for the Afterlife and my cousin. So they're going to do a seance right here on the air, live. It's never been done. We have a lot of great shows coming up. We have paralegal shows coming up. We have an awful lot. But today's show, we did a show months ago. And the show, the girl I had on, the title of the show was, is your doctor, in other words, are you an addiction? Is your doctor making you an addict? And we got a lot of responses to that. And it was pretty horrible in one way, because many of you out there that were on drugs emailed me, and nothing has changed. The same people that are on drugs, the same people are with the addiction. So I decided we have to show the people that it's not just them. The path to drug addiction begins with the first act of taking a drug. It could be a prescription pill. Over a period of time, the person needs more and more of the drug for the same effect. Drugs seeking becomes compulsive as a result of the effect of the prolonged drug use on your brain. Then it becomes compelling, where it's a need, it's not a choice. You know, the war on drugs is a war on poor people. American doesn't have a drug problem. It has a poverty problem as well. And what I mean by this is drugs among the poor, drugs among the criminals among the poor, and largely unregulated among the rich. Pot, coke, other drugs are in colleges, dorms, the middle class, even prisons. They're filled with criminals about the poor. The drug war used to be in the ghetto only, unemployment. And now they get the money, and they feed their addiction now. Drug addiction is an illness. It's not a crime. Remains the topic of many. And if you look it up in the Webster Dictionary, think about it. I did. It defines disease as any departure from health presenting marked symptoms, illness, disorder. Drug addiction certainly meets the measures, shows me that drug addicts, and I show you someone presenting as symptoms of illness and disorders. And this is the fitting of the crime. Drug addiction is an illness. It's not a crime. And whether you're addicted as the actual disease remains wholly in itself, you still have the disease. Drug addiction is responsible for many problems in our country. Depression, mania, violent fantasies. Drug addiction leads to serious physical ailments, including heart attacks, strokes, organ failures, even death. The drug addict life's mostly certain to a disorder. No longer he's even able to hold a job. He relates to other human beings to care for their personal hygiene. There's no order to be found. You know, the child of an addict, 3 to 5 times are more likely to become an alcoholic or an addict as well. You know, our country is in need of a serious shift in an overall thinking of how drug addicts should be treated. And it's not what you think. You know, drugs in our country, when you hear the word drugs, what do we think? You know, it can involve many things as poverty, housing, poor education, lack of jobs or social opportunities. Although some of this is real, it's concentrated in particular areas of the inner cities. It's also found in small towns and even rural areas now. It's come upwards. Cigarettes, an example. Cigarettes, I mean, what do you think of it a lot? Years ago, everybody smoked, or majority of people smoked. But cigarette smoking has fallen among the middle class in recent years, but less to among the working class. The only growth marketed for cigarettes has been young women, and particularly young working classing women. When they're under stress, what do they want? They want that cigarette. I also was a cigarette smoker for many years. I quit cold turkey. Many of you can't. The next addiction, when you hear about addiction, is alcohol. The picture for alcohol is less clear. In terms of alcohol consumption, women in professional households, you go out and you have a glass of wine, beer, whatever. And it used to be the middle class and beers and lagers and everything else. But now it's every class. The relationship between alcohol is less clear because of the difficulties in defining alcoholism. The status of death among males, cirrhosis of the liver, heart failure, shows that publications, bars, doctors, and CMARTs. Now, we did a show on this one time where I said, have you ever went to the upper areas? You've never seen a bar in every corner as you do in the ghetto, as they put it. And I asked why back in those shows. Why is there a bar in every area and every street corner? Because they want them to become addicted. When they get their pay, go right to the bar. And yet you go to an upper class and they say to their Congress, their committee person, don't you dare put that in my neighborhood. And yet it's there. It's there. If you like it or not, the bar's on every corner, but they can always go in to a state store, buy it, go home, go out in their car, and still drink it. The relationship between drugs and misuse of drugs. If you want to get off of drugs, remember, if you really, really want to get off of drugs, you have to find a way. And if you don't, you will find an excuse and blame everybody else, including your friends, your family. And it gets to the point, remember, you know, when people says to me, well, Pearl, I'm on drugs because I'm lonely. And I say to them, you know, you cannot ever be lonely if you like the person you're alone with, yourself. So they have issues. So people, and you think families out there that say, well, I want nothing to do with this because I'm embarrassed. And where do you take them? Do these people want help? Of course they want help. Do they know there's help out there? We've seen on TV the interventions. We've seen what goes on the interventions. We see it's live. And when we look at this, I have to look at everything. I have to look at the families that say, I'm too embarrassed. My child, my father, my mother, my sister, my brother is on drugs. I want nothing to do with them. So let them go. And then when they die, you sit back and you say, I wonder if I could have done something. So when you say, I wonder if I could have done something, it's too late. Well, my guest today knows there's help out there. Why she knows there's help out there? She provides the help. And yet it's out there. Yet no one's looking, yet many are looking. But you have to want to look. You have to want to look. But it's not just the person that's on drugs, and that's what she's going to talk about. She's going to talk about where there is help, why there is help, and it's not just families. It's not just the families or the people that are on drugs. If you have a guilt trip because a member of your family is on drugs, and you say, and you're avoiding them, and you make every excuses, shame on you. Because we can't turn the tables back after they're dead and gone. So get away from the guilt trips. My guest today is Zulma. Zoma, you tell them what your title is.
Hi, hello. I'm Zol Maldonado. And rather than tell you what my title is, I'd like to say that I serve this city of Philadelphia for Drug Addiction Services and OAS. That's Office of Addiction Services and Special Projects. There's been a transformation in the city of Philadelphia where we have practice guidelines, and we're here to help. And for people that need help, we have plenty of it.
All right, let's say it in pure English now. I'm off the street, and I'm a, as they say, junkie, as they call it in today's society. And you don't like the word junkie, right?
Let's talk about that right now.
Okay.
We do not use that word. We believe that changing the language will be changing the culture. That's not something that we use. We use the word person in recovery. People can recover for all kinds of things, not just drug addictions. People are human beings. We recover from things every day, whether it's financial, physical, medical, and there is help out there. But may I say this, that no one's immune. It can happen to anyone. And that means financially, you're not immune if you're a wealthy person. That means you're not immune if you don't live in the city. That means no one's immune. If it doesn't touch you, it will touch a spouse or a child or a neighbor or just your community. If you care about your community, if you care about your city, if you care about your country, the people that I work for, Addiction Services and OAS and Mental Health Services, we are the front line to the war on drugs.
How do I get to you?
Well, you can get to us.
Let's suppose I'm on drugs and I'm married and I have a whole family and everybody's calling me a junkie and I know I need help, but I'm doubting myself even. How do I get to you? Do they have to get to you or do I have to get to you?
Well, there are numbers that you can call, and a lot of this is done telephonically, and it is done very well.
Numbers you can call from me, the addicted person, or from my family?
For either. You can call yourself. You can self-refer yourself. Someone can refer you. Maybe you'll go to a doctor, and a doctor will refer you. Maybe you'll go to a police, because as I said, no one's immune. There's only a few ways out of this situation. Either you get help, you go to jail, or you die.
Now, what happens if a person is in pain, goes to a doctor, and they go to 5 doctors, and all these doctors are giving them prescription drug pills? Now, they're addicted, obviously.
Obviously. And I think that some doctors are a little bit too generous, but I'm going to say this, that I think that doctors are really just trying to give the person what they want and what they think they need. So if the person goes there, typically, if you're a drug user, you know what to say to get what you want. But doctors are aware of this now, and it all goes down into a computer in Washington. So it's being watched very closely. Those that are being very flagrant with it will get caught, they will lose their licenses, and so on. But if you really want drug and alcohol help, it's out there. Addiction Services.
How does a person know they need help?
Well, if you're using illegal drugs, you pretty much know you need help. First of all, you know you're doing something illegal. And once you're involved in it, you know you're doing all kinds of things to get that. So you already pretty much know you need help. Sometimes it takes your family kicking you out. Sometimes it just takes having a bad night out and you recognizing it yourself. Maybe someone's good enough to let you know. And as you said, addiction is a disease. It is a disease like cancer. Is it a disease like diabetes and any other disease where people need to go to the right place, know where to go, get the right appropriate help, and then do their part. Now, as far as community behavioral health in Philadelphia, that's CBH, they're called Member Services, and you can call them. And I would like everyone to get a pen and paper out, because if you don't need these numbers, maybe you'll know someone who will. If you have some insurances, some HMOs.
I was going to say that. Does insurance cover?
Some insurances will cover it. If you have some HMOs, or if you make under a certain amount, you can get HMO through the public system, then you can call CBH Member Services.
All right, let's stop
and
here.
I'll give you that number.
Suppose, now you're an expert in this field, it's obvious. Let's say my brother is an addict, and I know it, my whole family knows it, and he's saying, I'm not an addict, I'm in pain.
Okay.
How do I get him to go to you, or how does he, because he doesn't think he's an addict.
And both things may be true. He may also be in pain. The first thing he has to do is see a doctor. and see if that pain is relevant. Is it psychological pain? Is it physical pain? And then do accordingly. The problem comes in because, face it, everyone knows that drugs can also be successful. They're here for a reason if they're used properly. There's use of drugs and there's abuse of drugs. And there's people that are in the type of pain that meditation, hot baths, ice, all those things, the pain is deeper, whether it be cancer. Sometimes it's psychological pain. But they need to see a doctor. They need to see the correct doctor. And
I'm glad you said the correct doctor, because doctors will give them the medication that they want.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if that's what you're doing and you're going from doctor to doctor, eventually does catch up with you. That's all computerized, and it all goes to a big computer down in Washington. You're not doing yourself a service. You're doing yourself a disservice. The doctor's trying to give you what he thinks you want and need, but he's doing himself and you a disservice.
Okay, now, when we come back, I'm going to put myself into a situation where I'm the addict. And I'm going to put myself where you'll understand if you're sitting there and your family member is addicted, you'll see where I'm coming from. We will be right back.
1225. That's 888-668-1225. Or online at consumerslaw.com. That's consumers with an S, consumerslaw.com. If we accept your case, the bad guys pay our bill. There's nothing more disruptive and annoying than getting an automated call to your cell phone. There are laws against companies using computers or recorded messages to call you on your cell phone without your permission. This is consumer protection attorney Carrie Flitter. You've heard me as a guest on the Pearl Polto Show. There are consumer laws in place that prohibit many of the unwanted calls to your cell phone. If you're receiving unwanted or unauthorized calls, whether collection, selling products or services, or otherwise, you may be entitled to have these calls stopped and to collect money damages that the law provides. If you're getting unwanted or pre-recorded calls to your cell phone, contact us, the Consumer Protection Lawyers at Flitter Lorenz, at 888-668-1225. That's 888-668-1225. Or online at consumerslaw.com. That's consumers with an S, consumerslaw.com. If we accept your case, the bad guys pay our bill.
Welcome back to the Pearl Polto Show. That was Carrie Flitter. If you're having a problem and you're getting harassed by bill collectors, you need the call, because we have a cure for that as well with it. My guest today is Zuma. She works for the Drugs and Alcohol Department, and she helps many people for years, many people. But I want to put her into a place because it's gotten worse, not better. I mean, you could see what our economy is doing, but I want to put her in a situation where it's me. I have pain. I have pain, and I don't know where it's coming from, but I go to my doctor, and my doctor says, well, we did x-rays, but I'm going to put you on Percocet. And I'm saying, is it going to help the pain? Of course it is. So he puts me on Percocet 3 times a day, 4 times a day, whatever. Well, after 30 days, I'm getting the edges, and I need this Percocet. Well, now I go back to him, and I'm saying, well, this is good. It's killing the pain, but I still have the pain. He puts me on a stronger medication. Now I'm really, and it's not my fault. I just went to him for pain that I was having. The doctor did his job. I'm the one that's in pain. He did his job. He prescribed something to take the pain away. And now I become the addict. And since I become the addict, I'm losing friends, family, and they're all saying, you have a problem, Pearl. You have a problem. And I'm sitting there saying, but it's not me. I don't like this feeling. I don't want to become an addict. I don't like this. Doesn't it become emotional on my part where now I want to take more to resolve the whole problem?
And don't forget, your emotional part is part of your identity as well. But what I want to say about that is I'm going to give the doctor credit and think that he has done every test possible to see where that pain is coming from. Not that you're just going in and saying, Doc, I need pain medicine, and he says, here's a script, write it out. He's got to correlate his decision with his test that he's taking. If he takes tests and there's nothing there to be found, then he's got to take other types of tests until there is. Now, legitimately, there are people that need these drugs. However, it is very easy to get caught up with them, like you said, because at times you become immune. That's part of the brain, part of the human body. It's pretty natural. At that point, that doctor has to be aware, and you have to let the doctor be aware that, you know what, I'm starting to abuse these because this is not enough. And then you get reevaluated. This isn't something that is set in stone where he's going to say one thing and that's what you're going to have to do the rest of your life. Then, if you find yourself months later and you're still doing this, and hopefully your doctor will tell you, you know what, there's help out there for people that are addicted. There's interventions, family calls interventions, friends can intervene. I have this thing here that says, what do people want? People and their family members want to have an everyday life that is typical of the general population. They want more to their lives, and they have a greater expectation of the system than ever they did 10 years ago. People want to have self-determined lives, means to support their family and friends. They decide how to live their lives and what supports they need, and how they want to spend their money and their individual budgets.
But they're
it also means that they're responsible for the decisions that they make.
Well, we know this, but they're addicted.
So,
they're not responsible. I don't
so
think they're responsible.
At that
they
point,
just want it.
well, at that point, you're responsible to get well.
Right.
And so we do have all these services that are
now you said
eligible
your family,
for that.
Your friends, everybody around you.
Hopefully they're not like, and you mentioned it earlier about not in my backyard. We call that NIMBY, okay? Because we like to put people in places near their neighborhoods so they don't have to travel, so someone in crisis doesn't have to get put through more crisis. And sometimes people, whether it be the Northeast, the suburbs, they don't want to see one of those facilities in their area. However, it is for their children and for that families that we're doing it. We're not putting it there so someone for 4 counties away come there. So, you know, sometimes even though we love these people, we make it hard because of the stigmas. That's the first thing I want to ask everyone to look at, because stigma will keep people from getting help. Stigma will keep people from telling you the truth.
Stigma? What's the stigma?
The stigma is that if you take drugs, it's because you really want to, you're maybe a lowlife, you're just lazy, you don't want help. All those things, you know what? There may be a few people that might fall into that category, but I speak to hundreds of people, and most of them have come to where they're at through their own circumstances, whether it's physical pain, whether it's emotional pain, whether it's just that their life has just had hardship after hardship. There may be rape, molestation. People go through a lot of things that they don't ever tell anybody about, and these are ways people go out and they self-medicate.
Now, how do these, okay, they self-medicate to take the pain away, and everybody else is saying, well, they got issues.
Right. And it takes time, but it's going to take some love. Because so long as you are pointing at somebody and saying, oh, you're just a mess up and you got issues, that's going to close someone down. You know, they always say you get more flies with honey, and I think that's true. I think if you invalidate someone's pain, that's a good way to keep them there.
What about a mother saying to a child, you know what, you're on drugs, well, nothing to do with you, you have issues, and I'm embarrassed?
Well,
how does that child feel?
That could all be true on the mother's part, but she also has to understand that someone's receiving that information. And they're receiving that information from someone that they trusted, someone that they counted on, and someone that they thought that, you know what, when I'm this hurt, I should be able to go to you.
Right.
And I think that if we all could help each other instead of putting each other down, because you're going to turn around and you're going to see it and you're going to say it about somebody, and then you're going to turn around and you're going to find it in your own family. So the best bet is to say, you know what, this is America. This is Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. I love my community. I care about what happens here. If I'm not the one that's sick, I'll reach out, even if it's just to give someone a phone number or to lead them in the right direction or to the right doctor to help them get there. Because that's what community is about. And if you don't have a healthy community, it doesn't matter how rich or healthy you are, you're not going to feel rich and healthy. You're going to feel as poor and as sick as a guy next door to you, because they are. You need a healthy community. You want to raise your children in a healthy community. You want to lead by example. And so you lead by example by helping others, and they will help others. And what I find is people that do get treatment and do the programs properly, after they have gotten help, they are so grateful. The next thing they want to do is to be a peer specialist, or they'll call me and say, how can I help somebody else in my situation? So you see the gratefulness coming in, and you know how hard it is and they can't wait to help someone that's been in their shoes.
So not ever to knock or put somebody down that you see on drugs or alcohol, even though you think they're a low life. You're putting this in your head.
Right.
Or their family's
Right.
putting it in their head.
Or culture has put it in our heads, and that's what I talk about language. We don't use words like junkies. We don't use words like that anymore because they're derogatory. And sometimes if somebody doesn't have something derogatory to say, they have nothing to say. So it's better they say nothing. We are here on this planet together. There's a reason.
Why do people make issues? Why do people make issues out of these problems, and they blame it on the issues? They'll say, well, they have a problem with this. They've always had a problem back in their childhood, and this is why I think they went on drugs. I don't believe that.
I'm not sure. I think it's really is easy to criticize someone, and I think sometimes that people try to level each other out. They try to knock somebody down. Maybe they look better if the other person looks worse. I'm not sure of that. I can't answer that question because I really don't feel that way. I think that if somebody is sick, doesn't matter what the sickness is, if you know how to help them out, I think you should reach out and help them out. And if karma is good to you in time when you need help, then they will do accordingly.
Okay, so what's your percent of the people that contact you? Do they just
Wow.
call you or walk in the office?
Wow. Well, typically we have a telephonic service. And in fact, we started a telephonic service called TRIP. It stands for Telephonic Recovery Initiative Program. Because we know that sometimes treatment's not enough. Sometimes it's not just a drug. It's behavior. Sometimes they're homeless. Sometimes they have nobody on the planet but themselves. Sometimes they don't speak English and don't know where they are. People come to these situations through different ways. They end up in the same problem, but they come there with different problems. And so you take the person case by case, individually. You meet them where they are. You find out what they need. And then you find out the supports that are around, and you try to layer resources to actually support that recovery. And after a while, you'll see people, and if you allow yourself to know some of these great people, you'll see people that have been sober 20, 30, 40 years. They still call themselves people in recovery because they know that's a daily thing that they deal with. And some of us that haven't been there yet don't understand that that's a daily thing that we all have to live with, whether it's because it's our neighbor or it's just a possibility that it could be us. A roofer falls off a roof, breaks his back. That pain's incredible. The pharmaceutical companies have something out there that's going to help your pain. Man has always found a way to come out of their pain, back as far as the Greeks. You'll see people all through history taking themselves out of pain, whether it be out west when you got a shotgun, they pour alcohol in. So human beings and pain do not go together really well. So we always try to seek how to get out of pain. But there are more than one way to get out of pain, and that comes with the education, and that comes with treatment.
Yeah, but they have to want the treatment.
Well, you have
the families.
You have to understand that you have a problem.
Yeah.
You have to see you have a problem, or somebody has to care enough about you.
What about the person that has the problem, but they say, well, my whole family thinks I'm a drug addict, but I'm in pain.
Well,
I don't need treatment. I'm in pain. What would they do if I got off of all the treatment?
Well, they need to see a doctor.
But suppose the person is seeing doctors.
Then there is pain management.
Okay.
There is pain management because there are going to be folks, and please, people that are out there that are in real pain, do not let anyone negate your pain. Your pain is valid. And unless you validate someone's pain, it's really hard to get past it. So understand that people do know that you are in pain. It's how you find your way out of pain, and are there better ways, and have you done everything you can besides getting yourself addicted to something that may kill you worse, that may cause you more pain in the end.
Is there some people that have a higher threshold for pain than others, and that's why they need higher pain levels?
Absolutely. There's people that have high thresholds and can get plates and pins in their legs and actually take an aspirin a day and just through mental telepathy, or however, I don't want to call it any one thing because I don't think it is any one thing. I definitely know it's not will. If it was will, these people that talk to me every day would not be doing it. They're in way further pain than what they started in. Now, I think they would take that back pain rather than the pain of addiction.
It's interesting. One of my neighbors contacted me, actually just today. She didn't know the show was on today. And I had a best friend that died of a heart attack. And yet the neighbor that called, she said, Pearl, I was in so severe pain in my stomach, I went to the ER. And they gave me Percocet. But my pain is so severe, but they gave me Percocet. And she said, I'm afraid to take the Percocet. She said, I don't want to get addicted to it, but I don't know what to do. I'm in so bad pain. I know you're a health freak. Is there any herbal things that I could take? Mm-hmm. And I said, did you get the prescription? She said, I got it, but I'm afraid to take it. So I went to another ER and said to them, please take care of this pain, but I don't want all these pain things.
Well, and that's sad because I'll tell you what, those pills, when done properly, do exactly what they're supposed to do. They will take your pain away. When you go to a dentist and you're in pain,
become addicted to it?
Well, she needs to be under a doctor's care, and that's some of the problems. Some people that don't have insurances. Mm-hmm. Some people actually work, but still don't make $50,000. Still don't make enough to buy their own insurance, but maybe make just a little too much that they can't get public assistance. Mm-hmm. So where do they go? They might get a prescription once, and then it's very expensive. They can't get it again. Then someone, out of their kindness, because they know that they're in pain, may offer it to them. Then you start self-medicating yourself. And sometimes what's really bad is that when they can't afford anything else, and Percocets off the street start being $5, $10, $20, and $50 a piece. They'll go towards something like heroin, which maybe they can get way cheaper for a bag, and within weeks, they're really stuck. And not only stuck still in their pain, now they have this trouble of needing and depending on something that's illegal, which will send them out into the streets to harm, to get arrested, to get poison. You don't really know what you're getting when you're on the streets. So, there's enough blame to go around from the person himself to the doctor. The thing is education. Education, information, knowing where the resources lie, and then really doing it the way you're supposed to.
Can we change our society, though, what's going on?
Well, we certainly are trying. For the past 6 years, like I said, our literature has changed as far as the language. We have put more resources out there. But not only, there's always been resources in Philadelphia. Philadelphia has always been a great city for that. However, they weren't connecting. We're actually now trying to have a continuum of care. Maybe you will start with me, and I would do an assessment. That would go to a clinical team and clinicians, nurses, people that
wait a
do
minute.
that.
We're going to start that. What is your day consist of? In the morning when you go to work, what does your day consist of as soon as you get in your office?
Well, if we're doing placements, then I would do phone assessments, which means the person will refer themselves, or maybe they're in.
Now, how do they get your number?
Well, they're all over the place. They're on billboards.
Okay.
They're on cards. They're in the computer. You can look up member services. CBH member services is 888-545-2600.
Suppose they're homeless.
If you're homeless, you can still call the BHSI line, or for those that have no insurance at all, their number is 215-546-1200. But through the TRIP telephonic line, you can call. You let us know that you're homeless. We will direct you to the right people. We will direct you to recovery housing. We can direct you to emergency housing. The federal government has just put out funding for a program called ATR, which stands for Access to Recovery, which means that and it is really channeled for people that sometimes fall through the cracks, maybe don't have all the things in place that they need, maybe make 2 cents more than they could to get welfare. Maybe they were working and now they've broken their back, so they need new training. So ATR can actually really help you with emergency shelter for homelessness. They can also, from there, you can talk to case managers. They'll do an intake and see what you specifically need, what your personal needs are. We try to meet the person where they're at.
How many calls do you get a day?
Wow. That really, it starts at 8:30 and it stops at 5 because we have to go home at one point. But I'll say that we can easily hear 50 to 100 calls would not be rare.
And what do they want when they call you?
They want different things, but most people know who we are by the time they do call us, and they're asking for treatment, drug and alcohol treatment.
Do they really want treatment?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They want help. What they want, like we said before, they want to live like everyone else. But in this treatment, they want choice. They want some control. They want quality. They want stability. They want safety. They want individuality. They want relationships. They want freedom. They want success. They want a contribution to the community, accountability, mentoring, and collaboration.
Well, we don't have to be on drugs. We don't have to be on drugs to want all that.
Exactly.
Even I want all that.
And that's what I'm saying to you. They want the same things that you and I want. Okay? So these systems are put together, and we have some great leaders. We have Dr. Evans, we have Roland Lamb, who are on this mission to make this a best practice city.
In your opinion, is it the body, physical, or is it the mind, mental, that puts a person into drugs? And is it the physical or the mental that can get them off of drugs?
Now, that's probably the hardest question you can ask anyone, because how do you know? Does the mental health come in first? Does the drug addiction come in first? Is it drug addiction and then the mental health came in first? I don't know. I think the more that you learn about people, the less you know. But we do the best we can with the information we have. And now we have best practice information. For over 50 years now it's been collected. For a long time, psychiatry and all that stuff wasn't collected like it is now. Addiction services. But now we actually have numbers. We actually have success rates. And we actually know how to do it. Mm-hmm. There are some people that need outpatient. There's some people that need intensive outpatient. There's some people that need inpatient.
Now, after they're cured, not after they're cured.
There are different levels of care.
You help them. But they have to go back to the same household that they were putting them downing them physically, mentally. But you help them. They leave wherever you send them to. They're okay. They're saying, I feel good. I'm not addicted. But you're sending them back to the same household that put them down.
Well, and we do understand that. And therefore, we've put in place, there's recovery housing, there's transitional housing, there's safe havens, there's warm lines, there's hotlines. It's just for the people to know that they're out there. We are trying to get as much information out there as possible. We have a recovery walk every year that thousands of people come from all over, not just Pennsylvania, to show. I think there was like 4,000 at the walk last week. Mm-hmm. And just to show that recovery is evident. And we have a saying that one of our great leaders always says, we say, how are you? We say, struggling. And our answer to that, but victory is certain.
No, it's like an alcoholic, the 3 A's. Or when you go to an alcoholic meeting, you always say, I'm recovering alcoholic, as they put it. I haven't had a drink for 10 years, but they're still recovering.
Because you're intelligent enough to know that when you're a human being, you can always go back to what you know. So you want to stay diligent, and you want that to be up front in your mind that, yes, I'm in recovery every day. That reminds you every day to get up and do what you have to do.
Is there such a thing as cold turkey with these people, or it's impossible when you're that addicted?
I think that when you are on anything that has your life at that hold, you really do need professionals. I never recommend anyone to detox alone or to do this alone. I think that really can just set you up for some seizures. Maybe you could even die. There are places out there that can help you. Do not take it on yourself. There are professionals out there that really do know what they're doing. If it's an emergency situation, then of course you go 911 and you go emergency. These services aren't set up for emergency services. But the minute that the emergency room calls, the CRC calls, or the person themselves calls, we start right away seeing where this person fits, what the appropriate level of care would be, and how we can set up supports for now, for short term, for middle, and for long term.
Your company's been in business naturally for a long time with this, and I'm a little bit shocked that you're that busy every day. So
and
we're
that's
talking
just,
about
and we're
thousands.
We're a very small community, because I believe that CBH Community Behavioral Health, thousands and thousands a day, I would not be surprised. They're on 24/7.
Thousands of people.
CBH serves people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Is this the poor, the middle class, the rich, or a combination?
Well, we hope that people that are wealthy have their own insurance and that their insurance pays for it. But like I said, at BHSI, we cover those that are uninsured, if you are underinsured, or if your insurance does not cover drug addiction, we certainly will consider that. The HMOs will be picked up by community behavioral health. And again, according to your needs and according to what's available. Everyone knows right now that we have less money to work with. So actually, I think that that's not so bad. I think what's happened is that very intelligent people got more creative. I think there was a lot of money before and few things were done with it. I think we have less money now and we're doing a whole lot more with it.
Are a lot of Americans dying over this now? Are a lot of Americans have died over this because they haven't gotten help, or they're too ashamed, or suicide?
I think human beings all over, America no exception, dying every day. And a lot of it is stigma. Get it out of your lives, people. Stop thinking of these people as less than you. Because one thing Maya
Wait a minute.
Angelou
I want you to
said,
repeat that, because that statement should go down in history. Don't think that they are less than you.
they are not. Maya Angelou's last book, she said in the one sentence, "You will never be more human than me."
So they're not just, you're just belittling them because you think, because you don't take drugs,
That you're better than them?
that you're better than
I'm
them.
not sure of that. Let me see how you live your life. Let me see how much love you put out there. I know some of these people face to face. I've dealt with them, family, friends, and strangers, and some of the best people, some of the most athletic people, some of the most geniuses, some of the most sensitive sometimes. Sometimes some of the most artistic, creative people. I don't know if everybody's old enough, but if they remember John F. Kennedy. But back then, we didn't throw everybody's business under the bus. But he took back medicine. Nobody called him any names. In fact, we hold him in high esteem.
So we're going again to the poor, the middle class, and the rich again.
Well, I guess it's pretty easy to pick on anyone that's poor.
Or families. It's not just picking on anybody that's poor, or families.
And families.
Because they have a high esteem of their family, and the one
Exactly.
that's...
However, you know what? I'll judge a family by the empathy they have for each other. Because you can have a bunch of lawyers and doctors and all that, but if you're not loving each other, and if you're not there for each other, and you're not supporting your weakest member of your family, I challenge you as a family. I think real family, and I'm not talking just blood, because family are people that are there for you. It doesn't have to be DNA connected. We all know what we mean by the word family. We all know who we consider family. Those are people that you trust. And that means you can come and tell them, you know what, this is what's wrong with me, without thinking that they're going to trash judge you. Because you know what, we can all be judged on one level or another. It's real easy to pick this subject and deal with it that way, because we visually can see people not doing well or losing their homes. Listen, if we don't fix it, we are the war on drugs. When Nancy Reagan said, just say no, she was misinformed.
What do you mean by that?
She was misinformed.
What do you mean by
If that was possible, we would not be talking about this 50 years later.
Okay.
There's nobody that wants to suffer like this. There's nobody that loves their family and wants to be divorced from them. There's nobody that wants to be thrown out of a nice home into a cold street. These are things that happen once you're that deep into it. And so what you need are people and professional and people that actually care about you and you can trust to lead you through this dark time that you're having.
This is why so many people are dying at a young age.
It's a lot of reasons,
And
yeah.
it's not just them. It could be a whole party, as you're putting it.
And there could be a lot of people that you'll never know were using drugs, but they'll drive kidney disease, stomach problems, heart diseases. Look, this is an American problem. This is a world problem. Okay, it doesn't start here. It doesn't end here.
How do we solve the problem now? What are the solutions
Well-
for each one of us out there, including myself? I have many clients that want to throw themselves under the bus because of losing their homes.
Right.
And if somebody offers them marijuana, or they may take it.
They may.
So how could
Anything to
we-
make them feel a little better.
Yes. How could we as citizens
individuals,
help?
we start like this. We either become a part of the problem or a part of the solution. Okay? And a part of the problem doesn't mean that you're out using drugs. A part of the problem might be that you're not helping your city sustain its health. And that's what it's about. It's not just about one individual person or another. We are a community. We want our community to be healthy. In a healthy community, you will have people aspire. When you have people aspire, they create things. They create jobs. They work. They raise their families well. We want to live in a healthy community. So now, mental health services as well as addiction services is certainly doing their part, but individually we all have to do our part. We got to get up in the morning and try to say, what is it that we can do to make our community better, healthier, safer?
Right, safer with it. Why can some do it cold turkey and others can't?
Sometimes it depends on the drug. I never suggest anyone that's on opiates and alcohol. It is very dangerous. Please see a doctor.
Because if you go on
Please
cold
see a
turkey,
doctor.
then you can have
The only people that I've ever heard of have just stopped doing something without any repercussions like that will be people using cannabis or weed or marijuana or pot, whatever culture you're living in. And I don't know, haven't read all the studies on it. But as far as other hard drugs, you really need, number one, it's not just to stop using, because that's just the first part of it. The rehab part, the treatment part, that comes after. After you don't itch anymore to go get it. Okay, I'm listening to you right now, counselor, but I'm really running out because I can't take it anymore. I got to get out of here. We have to get you in a place where you're able to be reasonable.
That's the feeling that they have?
Well, that's the feeling some people might have. And so we have to get people in a state of mind that they're able to take this information in, that they get reasonable and go, right, that's me. And then with help, with partnerships. There's peer specialists out there that have been through it themselves and have been trained to help people like this. So, you do have to seek help, but sometimes some people are afraid to seek help. So maybe it's up to the healthy person
No, wait a minute.
to reach out.
Why are they afraid to seek help?
Well, everyone's different. Everyone's personality is different. Just like you might be afraid to seek legal help, or someone else might be afraid to ask, hey, can I get up in front of that line? Or, people have different personalities, different levels of connection with other people, different social attributes.
Like a congressman saying, well, Pearl, I have a credit problem, but I'm too embarrassed to tell the whole world I have a credit problem.
Absolutely.
So they put it under the carpet.
Absolutely.
And that's
and I'll say, and that's what we see more nowadays, because like you said earlier in the program, back in the day, maybe it was an ethnic person or an older man or something like that you saw homeless on the street like that. Now you're seeing young, white, Caucasian kids, educated teenagers, not from the city, homeless, just out here looking for help. And I'll tell you, they come to Philadelphia because Philadelphia really knows what it's doing when it comes to mental health and addiction services.
How do you feel when you go home at night? Do you feel that you accomplished something, that you saved a life, or is it a lot of lives you want to save, but is it just one life that you saved you feel good about?
Well, I feel that we're all here supposed to serve. And so I feel pretty lucky that I get to do it within my 7.5 hours of work. So I get to do a job and to serve at the same time. But I really do believe that every human being is supposed to serve. So I feel great when I leave my job. And not because it's an easy job, it's a difficult job. But I feel great because I know every one of my coworkers and all of us that are in there are really kicking butt, doing our best. And we know that we never just leave someone hanging on. If we look and see what they need first, we make sure their safety is met first, and we try to fill in as many resources and find out as much as we can and help them as much as we can. And that includes that they can call us for just moral support.
Moral support. If you're sitting here, if you're sitting in your home and you are that person, let's say first you're that person that you have the addiction, and you're saying, wow, I'm so glad this is on, because now I know I don't have to be embarrassed. She's talking about my family. She's talking about, I want help. I don't know how to get it. We're talking to you. But we're also talking to your mother, your father, your husband, your wife, your sister, your brother.
Absolutely.
And we're talking to you as well. If you're listening and your family member is there saying, crying, I need help, and everybody downs them, then it's your responsibility too, as I think this is what you're talking
Absolutely.
about.
We're all responsible, and including the person that's using it. Everyone has to be accountable. But, do not throw these people away. Do not. One of these people may be the one to come back with a cure for cancer, with a cure for AIDS. You have so much talent in this in this community, in the recovery community, that everybody will be shocked to know. And some people you may be with that you don't even know are in recovery. So don't forget, you're not immune either. Lend a hand, because that hand may be lent back to you when you need it.
So I'm going to give out some numbers for people that are actually watching this that says, thank God, I have a place to call to go.
Thank you.
Give out some numbers where
Absolutely.
they can contact you or somebody that where do they call?
And I'm going to give several numbers in different ways, because, as I said, we are all working in coordination with each other and collaboration with each other, because we realize that not just one thing is what makes a person whole. So I'm going to read you a few numbers for different situations. I hope you get the numbers down. There's a program, The Journey of Hope. It's a collaboration of identified residential substance abuse and co-occurring treatment providers. And referrals for all of these programs come from the homelessness, from Project Home, Horizon House, Hall Mercer, the hospitals, all different places. The number for more information is 215-599-5178. Again, that number is 215-599-5178. A second number, which I'm very fond of and a part of, is a telephonic recovery initiative project we call TRIP, which is held. BHSI has a supportive service called, as I said, TRIP. It stands for Telephonic Recovery Initiative Program. TRIP provides assertive, impactful outreach to diverse populations of individuals within their respective communities. We offer a continuum of care that provides resources, emotional support, advocacy through patience, active listening, and positive encouragement. We provide compassionate, non-judgmental care. We try to work with your strengths and improve the lives of persons in various stages of recovery. Our resource aides currently provide telephonic support to behavioral health initiatives, including University of Pennsylvania Research Project, which is the ATR project we talked about earlier. And the number for TRIP is, and also BHSI, 215-546-1200.
That's your number.
That's BHSI number, and also the telephonic recovery number. As you recall me saying, this is for people that have no insurance or are under insurance. Of course, they can ask for me.
So
absolutely,
if you call
I'm
that
there.
number, the 546, you can actually ask
I'm the
for
only
Zuma
Zuma there, and
Zuma, and she will answer you. As you could say, I'm the one. I was watching the show, and I heard what you're saying, and give me more information on it. I'm sure she's going to do all this. I'm so glad I had this show today, because there's many people out there, and it's getting worse, not better, and I'm appalled by the fact, because we're losing members every day because of our economy, our credit, our health. We're losing people every day. And we're turning out to be dysfunctional families because we're blaming one another. And we're all have a cocky attitude after it's done. We're blaming everybody else. We're not blaming ourselves. Well, they did it. They were like this. They were like that. We're not to blame. We are the blame. And
we're all in this together.
We are. What she said was right. We're all in this together, and there is help out there. It's just like there's cancer. There's walks. There's cancer walks, and yet you're all in this together. Think about it. It's a disease. Cancer is a disease, but this isn't. So this is what you're treating it.
And why do you wait till someone you know has cancer? Hate cancer, even if you don't know anyone that has it. Join the walks. Join the recovery walk, even if you don't know anyone that has that problem, because nobody's immune. And we want a healthy America.
I wish I could turn some clocks back on people that I lost that was on drugs.
Amen.
And now I wish I could really turn the clocks back, because it's all on the education. If you don't want to say, I want to turn the clocks back, get the guilt trip away, get everything that you have away, help them now. And talk them into getting help. No matter what, talk them into getting help. Because sooner or later, it's going to click. It's going to click. But the main purpose, if you can't talk them into getting help, be there for them around the clock. As she said, it's called unconditional love. be there for them and let them know I can talk to you. I can be at your place. I can say what's on my mind, and I could do. The world is the world.
Be a citizen. Be a productive citizen. Be proactive. If you want a good city, and I want to say this as well, is if you've had bad experiences with mental health in the past and bad experiences with these type of people in the past, don't let that stop you from calling. Things have changed. We have practice guidelines. We try best practices. And every day we have thousands of people working very hard to try to make this a better city, a great city.
Don't forget, next week we got a rock and roll show. The Bristol Star Bonnie is going to be here, right here, telling us about the Dovells and her experiences with Bandstand. I got some surprises for her, too. But anyway, you don't want to miss this. And we had a great show today, a great education. I always say, I love to save one life out there. And if we can save a life, I hope it's yours.
Be your brother's keeper.
This is Pearl Polto, as always, making the most of your credit, giving credit where credit's due. If you have a problem, please call. Let me know about it as well, because we may have you on as a guest if she impressed you or if you got the help from her. See you next week.
Interest rate